Okay. Instagram. Okay. So we are going live. We're just waiting for Instagram. And Instagram is online. So we are on.
So hi everyone, welcome to our 9th Confluences talk. So for our new viewers, Confluences is an international science fiction and fantasy festival organized by Hikaya Editions. Last week we talked about French science fiction and Chinese online science fiction fantasy. And so today we're going to be talking about translating Palestine. So we're really excited for this talk and we're happy to have two wonderful guests with us today. So Davide Knecht and Mónica Carrión. They both translated the Palestinian author Sonia Nimr's novel Wondrous Journeys in Strange Lands from the original Arabic text. And we hope to have her as a guest on our panel today. She couldn't make it, unfortunately. But today we'll be discussing her novel and its translation process. And we'll also talk about Palestinian literature and its importance in the current context. So Mónica, you translated Sonia Nimr's novel into Spanish in 2016. And for any people who like to read in Spanish, the link to the Spanish edition will be in the chat. And you also worked as a translator and in multiple cultural institutions. And you're currently project manager at the Moroccan Institute for Policy Analysis. So Davide, you translated the novel from Arabic to French. And you've also translated some other novels from Arabic with Hikaya Editions, the publishing house you co-founded. And about the French edition, we have some exciting news for our viewers because the crowdfunding campaign for the French edition launched today on Ulule. It'll be published by Le Labyrinthe de Théa Editions, and 10% of the total sum raised through the crowdfunding campaign will be sent to Médecins du Monde, so Doctors of the World, to support their humanitarian work in Gaza and Palestine. So it's wonderful to have both of you here today, and we were looking forward to having this talk because this topic really does matter more than ever today, at a time where amplifying Palestinian authors' voices has become crucial. So I'll give a few words about the author before we begin. So Sonia Nimr is an author, a researcher, and an academic. She's currently professor of philosophy and cultural studies at Birzeit University in Palestine. She was born in Jenin in 1955. And as a student there, as a student in the Birzeit University, she was part of the student struggle against the Israeli occupation. And she was imprisoned twice by the occupation forces for her political activism. And that's when, like during her imprisonment, is when she became interested in writing children's literature. So then she continued her studies. She went on to publish many acclaimed books for kids and young adults. And she won many literary prizes. And her writing is very informed by her activism and by the Palestinian cause. So her book, the book we'll be discussing today, Wondrous Journeys in Strange Lands, it won the Salat Award, and it's been described as a feminist fable and also a historical novel, all in one, for all ages. It follows the story of Qamar, a Palestinian girl who embarks on a wild journey that takes her from Jerusalem and Gaza to India and Andalusia. So again, I want to thank our guests and our audience for being here. And for our audience, please don't hesitate to leave any questions you may have in the live chat, whether you're watching from YouTube or Instagram or Twitch, and we'll get to them at the end of the discussion. So we usually start off with more of a fun question to ask you to introduce yourselves. So I was thinking, since Sonia Nimr's book takes inspiration from the tradition of Arabic travel literature, if you had to choose to live in one city from the Arab world at any point in history, which one would you choose and why?
So, Monica, go first, and then I will go.
Well, thank you very much, Asmae or David, for inviting me to this event, to this meeting. Thank you for.
Oh.
If I have to choose a place or a city in the MENA region or the Arab world, I would choose without any doubt Cairo. I arrived Cairo a long time ago when I was like 22 years old, and I have been living there for a long period of time. So Cairo is very.
Oh, we have a connection problem. Yes. Well, we will just wait 2 seconds to see if she's. Oh yeah, that's not.
Sorry, I think that I lost the connection.
Yeah. You're back. You're back. Thank you.
Asma. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we do. You were saying you live in
Thank
Cairo?
you. Sorry, but I am in the office. Normally, I'm here because we have very good connection, but I don't know what happened. I was, yeah.
You're talking about Cairo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's a city that adopted me when I was like 22 years old. I have been living there for a long period of time. I think it's a very inspiring city. It's a crazy, chaotic city.
Oh wow. She's having some issues. That's the well, it's always a problem when we are online. So yeah. Well, I can answer myself, waiting for her. So for me, for people that know me, well, Beirut, of course. First of all, because I lived in Beirut and I love Beirut and I love Lebanon, but also because Beirut embodies the idea of this intellectual activity, especially intellectual freedom. In the Arab world, it's a publishing house. It has a long publishing house tradition. It's where, well, most of writers do publish. For example, one of the people I translated and as a publisher published as well, because it has like some kind of freedom of talk that is not the same in the rest of the world, the Arabic world, and it's got a vibe between the East and the West. It's a particular vibe, and yeah, for me it will be Beirut, 100%. Monica, sorry, you were cut. I talked during your
No,
reconnection.
great. Sorry for I moved to a different room. That's cross fingers.
No problem.
So yeah, but this is what I was saying. I mean, I have to choose a place to, a city or a country for sure would be Cairo, because as I told you, it's a chaotic place, but at the same time, it's like a source of inspiration. It's full of creativity, very inspiring. So yeah, I can only say good things about this city. When I always feel at home when I'm back.
Yeah, I've never been to Cairo, but it's one of my dreams to go there. And
You should.
the Egyptian accent is really something I really like.
Yeah. So you should.
You chose very interesting cities, right? It's the saying, what is it? Cairo writes, Beirut publishes, Baghdad reads, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
As a publisher, I have to choose the publishing city.
Yeah. Also, they have this fair, the international fair book every January, which is
Yeah.
an amazing event full of. Which is amazing is that it's always full of people, full of readers from everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you have the chance to go in during that time, that would be great for you, Davide.
Yeah. And I know that Egyptians read a lot, like a lot. Every Egyptian I met was like a devouring books all the time. So yeah, it's a city that I really want to visit, and I really want to go for the book fair. And as a publisher, of course, the place I can find the books to translate. Yes. So.
Well, that brings me to our next question. So how did you come to translate Arabic literature? And what drew you to Palestinian literature more specifically?
You can go first, Monica, and then I
started. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I started my career as translator as part of a translation agency. So we were mainly translating press from Spanish, from Arabic into Spanish. And it was a very interesting project because the idea was like it's very difficult to go directly to the source in Arabic. For example, when the press agencies here in Morocco or in Cairo, the correspondents they don't speak Arabic, so they're only they can only communicate with English speakers, or they can only read things in English or in French or in the languages that they speak. So this project of translating press, it was very interesting because the idea was like to give to the Spanish readers in Spain and in Latin America an idea about what the Arab press was saying in Arabic, not in other languages. So I did this. I mean, I was translating for several years, and after that, I started working in some projects, development projects or cooperation projects, and many of them were projects that wanted to give a different idea of the stereotyped image of the Arab world in the European Union. So one was that was the main idea. So as part of the activities of the projects, we did a lot of translations of different works and not only novels. Especially after the uprising in the region, when we saw it was like a creative explosion in many countries like Egypt or Tunisia. So we translated a lot of alternative cultural manifestations protest songs or television programs, comics, graphic novels. So that was we were doing mainly. And as part of one of those projects, we translated the novel of Sonia Nimr. It was like a project whose main objective was to try to promote reading between teenagers. And it had like a couple of aims. The first aims was to promote reading between young people in Spain, but also the second objective of this project was like to try to give a different image of the Arab region to those readers. And to reflect or to provide them with something that can open their minds to different realities, and to understand also that the differences between the north shore and the south shore of the Mediterranean are less than that we consider or we think. So it was like the objective of this writing, or we choose this book because it was a way of combating stereotypes towards the Arab communities in Spain, of course, but the Arab region in general.
Okay, Davide?
So I've always been into languages, and Arabic was one of them. As I said, I was living in Beirut, and I love readings. I love reading. It's something that people don't know me know. And I was looking for books, so I started reading in Arabic and a lot of novels. And the funny thing is that when I was talking to people back in Switzerland, in France, in Europe, people were telling me, well, we do not know them because we cannot speak the language. I was like, yeah, but they're translated, right? And most of the time I found that the novels I liked were not translated into French, were not translated into Italian or even English. So it was difficult for me to talk to people about what I liked, like the geek culture of the Arabic world that I was living. And so I started thinking of translating them. And Palestinian literature is one of them, because one of the major writers in Arabic fantasy is Sonia Nimr. So that's why I came to the Palestinian literature, even though I have projects on other authors from Palestine, which are in other genres. But this one, it's mainly because I was really looking for fantasy, science fiction, and imaginary literature in Arabic. That's what brought me to this book, to Palestine in specific, and it's a project that I've been working on before everything that's happening now. So it's an old project, and I really think it's an important one. I mean, because it gives like a different perspective of Palestine, especially with everything that is happening now. So, yeah.
Thanks. So, on the subject of Sonia Nimr's book, why do you think that it's an important story to tell at this point in time amid the genocide? So, why do you think it's important to use translation to amplify the voices of Palestinian speculative fiction authors, just as much as authors who write in more like historical or realist or dystopian genres? And why do you think that these stories that are filled with hope and imagination are important in the current context, like when the political reality leaves little room for anything beyond dystopia? A bit of a long question.
Yeah. Well,
very interesting question also. David, you can go ahead if you want to.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's all the comeback of Hikaya. For people that know Hikaya, it's that we need to humanize people. And fantasy, science fiction, the future is humanizing people, not dehumanizing. I think that we have a lot of literature from the MENA region that is really pessimistic. And even when it's fun, it's not fun. And we do need hope. We need to see that other people, that part of the world that we often see in a very negative way, either because it's the war or because we have, I don't know, I don't know, misogynistic problems are always put in a light of problems and never in a light of, it's a culture with all the complex historical and historical and social constructs. And it means that what we receive is always a bad image. Fantasy, and especially this book in particular, it's a book about hope, about it's a fairy tale. It's something different. And when we think about fairy tales, when we think about escapism literature, it's always it gives the reader a different image also of the culture we're reading from. And that's why I think it's important to translate science fiction and fantasy, because they give hope, because they give a different perspective. They give also the idea that the West is not the only ones creating the future as well, because one of the questions I've received a lot is, why no, I didn't know that one of the sentences I hear a lot when I tell people I'm specialized in Arabic science fiction is, well, is there any Arabic science fiction? I mean, do they write science fiction? I was like, yes, they actually live in Dubai. I mean, Dubai is the future. I mean, compared to some cities in France or elsewhere in Europe, I mean, they actually living science fiction. So yes, they do write science fiction. And it's like making people understand that it's not, the MENA region is not a backward war-like zone all the time. It can be a zone of hope, love, fantasy, and especially that can be looking into the future. And we in the Arabic world, you have very good sci-fi writers. That's one of them we have in at Hikaya. It's Farid Zarmout, which is really into the future. Or I can say also the same thing for Yasser Abdul Hassab that we translated at Hikaya. And yes, that's the main reason I do combat to fight to recognize the geek culture of other regions, and especially the MENA regions and the Arabic world, into the mainstream geek and fantasy and science fiction world. That's for me the main answer of this question. I don't know if you have something to add, Monica, or what's your vision on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that what we can do now to keep on talking about what is going on in Palestine, or keep on talking in general about Palestine. And to, as you were saying, David, and I completely agree with you, is to present a different image of the Palestinian people. No, I mean, it's not only the tragic images that we're watching on TV all the time, but also is the time to remember, to speak about the Palestine that is rich and is full of nuances, and they have a very rich history, tradition that must not be lost or forgotten. So I completely agree with you with the main point, which is like when we're used from the 80s, 90s to see this stereotype image of the Arab people. Even to talk about Arab people is like to talk about a whole thing, but this is not the case. I mean, you have a lot of richness in the same country, in the same city. So it's a very simplistic way of understanding a huge, rich area of a lot of countries, languages, traditions, and even religions. So we can, I think, literature in general, but of course, science fiction can be a very interesting tool to try to show up, to let people understand this richness and this diversity. That this is crucial, and also that is not only a region in continuous conflict, but also it's a region full of joy, full of creativity, and full of positive things. So in that sense, I think that Mono, you're in Hikaya, you're doing a great job, very needed. And also I completely agree with you with this point that sometimes it's really frustrating when you are reading a book in Arabic and you cannot share the book with your friends back in your country because there is no a translation of the book. So you get a little bit frustrated by not being able to share those things that you enjoy. So yeah, I felt like you many times in my life.
Yeah.
When we were preparing this meeting, we were talking about how historically fiction in the Arab world has played a very interesting role because it has been a way to denounce political problems, social issues, to put the focus sometimes on taboos. So, especially in some regimes like, I don't know, the Syrian regime, or when it was very interesting to try to surf in this metaphoric ways of reflecting the reality, because it was difficult to talk or to describe the reality as it was, and it was the only way to avoid the censorship. So this is something that it has been there at least in the last century. So we can say that of course, I mean, as any other literature, they have like this this kind of books of not realistic fiction, or not realistic fiction that has played a very interesting role in the history of the literature, the Arab literature. I think that I don't have anything else to add.
It also reminds me of what we were talking about on the previous panel on Iranian science fiction and fantasy, about censorship and how science fiction and fantasy can be used as a tool for liberation, to sort of bypass censorship by tackling sort of social, political, religious issues in imaginary worlds that allow you the freedom to criticize without being shut down immediately by censors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. And for example, for Palestine, we are talking here about Sonia Nimr, but there is also an anthology of Palestinian authors called Palestine Plus 100, which is exactly that, using science fiction to imagine the future of Palestine, for the better or for the worse. But it's, yes, science fiction is always a tool for joy and to denounce also what's going on without calling the things. It's always been like that in all the countries, but I think in the MENA region, especially in the Arabic world, or Iran, or even China, we told the same thing for China. It's a major tool, I think. And but specifically for this book, I think that the most important thing for me is hope. I mean, it's a book about hope. Comer goes through a lot of difficulties, but she never gives up. It's like a metaphor for Palestine as well. So yeah. I think it's a very good message. I don't know if you two agree on that, but I think it's a huge metaphor for Palestine.
Definitely, like sumud, resilience. Yeah,
resilience. I think hope and resilience are the two main words in terms of this story.
Yeah, not only resilience, but also, I mean, really the life of Kamar, no, this constant wandering from a place to another, the ongoing search of spaces for beloved people that were lost. This is like this uncertainty. It's in a way an allegory of what is going on in Palestine, no?
Yeah. Yes, there is this Cometa feels all over the book this feeling of non-belonging. Also, she belongs, but she doesn't belong. She's always thinking of, should I come back to Palestine? But what awaits me in Palestine? And at the same time, especially at one point, she feels the loss of what she left as well. I mean, and that's an interesting point. So she leaves Palestine. I don't want to spoil, but it's an important point of this book. She's left Palestine, and at one point she asks herself for the first time, what did I leave behind? And at the half of the book, so it's also I think it's really important. It's a really important moment because because at one point she realizes she's lost something, and her whole view of the whole character changes on how she sees the world as well. And I think it's a really good metaphor for people realizing they've left something and now they have to cope with the loss of what they've left behind.
And being powerless as well, to some extent, like having no other allies to help you regain what you've lost.
That point was very useful in the book when we were like using the book in those reading clubs for teenagers, because it was also a way to understand this feeling of no belonging to a place or being between two places. So it was very useful to make them, especially, I mean, when we were talking about the migrants in Spain, it was a very interesting way of letting them understand this feeling. I mean, you have been always living in, for example, in Madrid, no, I don't know, Barcelona. Your family has been there from there, so you don't know what is that, no, to feel between two places. So that was like something that came up in the reading clubs, no, this feeling of not belonging to a place, or this feeling of belonging to many places at the same time, and being okay with that. That was very nice.
Yes. And it's good to talk about these topics also in a different way. So we do have these topics in non-genre literature, but the genre literature makes us feel that in a different way. We live the adventure of someone, and it also talks to young readers, because I think that young readers, if you tell them a story about loss by war today, they're a little bit, they can feel it, but it's not the same thing as when it's in an adventure, when it's got magic in it, when it's got pirates, when it's got camels riding. And I think that's the strength of this book. It can give the idea of the whole situation in Palestine, not only from the genocide, because this book was published in 2014, something like that, in Arabic.
Yeah.
So it's an old one. And what's important as well is that, and I think it's the strength of this book in particular, is that, first of all, it's a fantasy novel, but it's not fantasy in the sense of European fantasy, high fantasy in Tolkien or J.K. Rowling or other writers. It's a fantasy in an Arabic way. You can see the heritage of the Arabian Nights. You can see the heritage of the Ibn Battuta works. It's fantasy, but because she lives adventures more than because it's magic, and the magic is always the wondrous things she sees all around along the voyages, the travels she makes. I don't know if you agree, Monica and Asma.
Yeah, I think there's also something. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Asma.
I think there's also something about the author and the protagonist being Palestinians that makes it even more fantastical in a sense, because Qamar is born in a small Palestinian village, and you know that if she was born in current day Palestine, none of it would be possible. None of the travels it would be difficult for her to get past a checkpoint. And lots of people her age get shot at checkpoints, for example. Lots of people who lived in Gaza even before the genocide it was very, very difficult, almost impossible in most cases for them to leave. So there's also something about that, and like what you said about it being a sort of escapist fantasy, which does allow us to kind of reflect on the current situation and the plight of the Palestinian people since the Zionist state was established.
Yeah.
And how for some people what may seem like a slightly extraordinary story, like a kind of like just another fantasy novel, is unimaginable for some people simply due to the place they were born.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's also important to highlight that it's a book about getting not shocked, but there's always this thing of getting something new, and it's something that people that cannot get out of their neighborhood, because that's basically it, are not used to. So yes, for us it might be a little bit simple, but yes, for people that cannot escape from their situation, it's an important way of escaping themselves. Because yes, we translated it into French, we translated it into Spanish, but the book at the beginning, it's aimed at Palestinians. And it's not a book for Westerners, it's a book for Palestinian. And we can see that in the way the book is written, in the way it's told, because it's really Arabic. I mean, you have some books that are written for Arabic and Western audience, but this one, and that's the particularity of Sonia Nimr. She's a storyteller in the Arabic sense. So, someone that makes the Palestinian oral tradition alive. She specialized in that, and we can see that in the way she writes her scenes, in the way she writes her characters. They're absolutely not the kind of characters we are used to reading in our literature in Europe, especially in fantasy and science fiction. And I think that's a very important point. And the second one, I think it's also important because we do not know when she lives. I mean, we don't know the time of the story. We know it's in the past. We know because she uses terms like Andalusia. She uses terms as Abyssinia instead of Eritrea. She uses this term, very ancient terms, instead of the modern ones. And for Palestine, that's not, and especially for Palestine, she used Palestine in that context. In a time today when we are talking about Palestine, but we have this movement in front of us telling us Palestine is a new thing, writing about Palestine in the past, it's something very strong. It's a political
Statement.
it's a political statement. It's a real political statement. I mean, I'm saying Palestine did exist 100 years ago.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, it's the most important thing of this book for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
What you are saying about this tradition, I mean, the storytelling tradition in the region, it's very interesting because it's something is very nice and very, very, very rich in the book, and at the same time, as translator, is very challenging because you have to keep this style of this way of telling stories, and at the same time you have to try to find a style that is not that is not very far from what young people want to read, or they have to connect with the story, so you cannot go far away when you are translating what you are translating, because they need to recognize things in the way of telling things to get connected to the book. Something that something that has not directly to do with Palestine, but it's also the fact that she's moving around in the first part of the book in the Mediterranean, something that now is impossible. So this freedom to move, to go to, I mean, it's what happened. I'm not going to tell the story, but she arrives for something that happens to Spain, and she's going to I mean, she's moving around and without any problems, without any visas, visa issues, frontiers, which is very interesting also. And that was a chance to, when we were like in those reading clubs with the teenagers, it was very interesting because, well, not only the teenagers, but people in general don't know that you need a visa to get into Spain, for example. So it's like, but you cannot move freely. I mean, if someone from Morocco wants to come to Madrid to see a football match, they cannot. No, they cannot. They have to ask for a visa, and most of the times they're not going to get the visa. So it was also a space to debate on that. I mean, to open a debate about the lack of freedom of movement now in the Mediterranean, even between Arab countries. So it was very interesting also.
Yeah. For example, in many points of the book, she takes a caravan and she goes from Morocco to Palestine and to Egypt and to Abyssinia, and there's no closure, no borders, nothing. I mean, And the only thing is and that's an interesting point, is that the only we can see this difference between the city where the people live, which are safe, and the nature, which is completely and the sea, which are completely dangerous. I mean, full of dragons, full of thieves, full of killers, full of snakes, and that's a very interesting thing, because the cities most of the time are where the action is more political, more human, and then we go to the fantastic part of the unknown and into the wild. And the only, I would say, the only borders she meets are the physical ones, never the political ones.
Political ones, yeah.
And that's, I think, interesting. And the other one is the language also, because she speaks Arabic, and she goes through different countries. When she's in the Arabic region, she speaks Arabic. She says, like, someone's got an accent. She's got an accent from Palestine. There's one point when she talks to another person that speaks Arabic, and she says, he told me in his accent, and I answer in my accent. That's very funny, because it's something that's, when we know Arabic, you know what she means. I mean, she's from Palestine, and the other character, I think, she is from Morocco. So if you know the Arabic word, you know that's a huge difference in accents. But when she's in Spain, when she's in Abyssinia, in India, she speaks another languages, and that's also part of to answer the question, is that even language is not a barrier, because she gets along with the people with hands gestures, or she tries to understand the language, or she learns the language. There's one part where she learns the language of the people she's meeting, and I think it's when I say it's a book about hope, it's because she always finds a way to talk with the people, to express herself, and expressing herself. It's a huge part of the book as well. I mean, it's a book the first person, so it's I, and the second, it's a book. It's her thought. It's about Kamar, so herself, and it's also a book about. I don't know, about her life. So expressing herself, it's important, and she always tells her story. So at one point, she restarted telling every person she meets her story, and I think it's a way also to remind us there are stories that we have to tell. We have to tell because they are important.
What do you think about the fact that she is narrating her story in the first person, as opposed to someone else narrating it in the third person, for example?
I mean, it's always easier to get closer to someone who is telling his or her own story. I mean, in first person. I mean, it's you can get closer to the main character, and you can, I mean, the empathy, or you can develop faster an empathy towards this character. So I think that this is a very important point, and it's a lot about. I mean, as you were saying, she's like trying to express herself. I'm trying to express all the time her frustration, her happiness, So I think that it makes it facilitates the fact of feeling closer to Kamar. I don't know how David thinks or sees things.
So I thought that a lot, because in the Arabic tradition, most of tales are indeed the third person, so he or she or they, and this one is an Arabic tale, really Arabic tale, following all the topoi of the Arabic tale, but it's a first person. And I think that's also a way for the writer to reconnect between the modern tradition, which is the modern tradition of writing Arabic, which is reading to the first person, and the ancient tradition of writing Arabic, and especially Arabic oral tradition, are the third person. So I think she's actually making it more modern in some way, so that she gets more into the reader. But the way she does it, it's also very story-like, very one Arabian Night-like. So I think it's a good mix, and I think it's really interesting on that point, because yes, if we are used to reading more traditional folk tales, they're all the third person. For example, the Arabian Nights. And even though I don't remember, Ibn Battuta also writes in first person, so
First person, yeah, but it is first person.
Yeah. I think it's a mix between the two, and most of the books today, in especially personal books in the Arab region, are in the Arab language, are written in the first person. It's
and also it creates like some kind of intimacy with the reader.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like you're a friend and you're telling me your story. So it's like it creates like a common space between the reader and Qamar in this novel.
Yeah, and what I like about this is that sometimes we know she's telling us the story, and she always says, "I don't think people will believe me if I tell them my story," and that's like. That's also resonates with the title. So it's wondrous travels, so wondrous that people will not believe them. and yes, I think it's really fantastic how she does it. This interconnection between the title, though there's a first story in which we have a second story, and how she manages to do everything at the same time. I think it's really very, very well done.
Interesting. There's also something pretty powerful about like a Palestinian female author writing from the point of view of a Palestinian woman who has permission to narrate in a way. When so many of the stories we read about, especially in the news, but also in other novels, are often told in the third person, where they're like passive individuals who things happen to, rather than active agents and writers of their own story.
Yeah.
So back to the translation. What are some challenges?
I have one thing to say about that.
Go ahead.
That's I think it's evident that she thought about it, because it's the whole first chapter is about that. It's basically about female being able to do what they want.
Yeah.
Female characters being able to women being able to do what they want in the world, and not only for, it's not a spoil, not only about women but female, I say in general, because if you will read the book, you will understand why, even animals in that sense. Because it's the first chapter, and I think it's really powerful. I mean, she does it from the beginning of the book, and she tells us through the story itself. So yeah, with the curse, you will see what the curse is.
And no spoilers.
Yes, no spoiler.
So back to the translation. What are some challenges that you faced while translating? So, for example, in the title, like how did you set out to achieve the same meaning or effect as the original Arabic title in your target language?
You mean the title that has a rim in Arabic, no?
Yeah.
No, in Spain we decided to keep the idea, the content of the title, avoiding to keep the rhyme, because it sounds a little bit strange. Sometimes, especially, it's like I don't know how. I think that we call it is couplet. No, I think this kind of rhyme. So in Spain, sometimes it sounds very 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 a little bit comic, or it can be like it can be a way of making fun on something. So we prefer to keep the sense of the idea, and I think that the translation it's quite quite complete, but no, avoiding keep this couplet, or to try to do the same, because you have like a lot of funny episodes in the novel, but it's not something. It's not a comedy. So we were like avoiding to give this impression or this feeling to the readers from the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what did you do in your case, David.
So there are two things about the title. The first thing, we have a play on words, because it can be translated in two ways. It's the travels of Ajiba in wondrous lands, in wondrous lands, or wondrous, or the English title is Wondrous Travels in Strange Lands. Yes. And both are correct, because Ajiba, so the Arabic title is Rihlat Ajiba, which means at the same time the wondrous travels, or the travels of Ajiba, which is a female name that means wondrous. So so we couldn't keep that one, because it's impossible to keep that one, these plain words in French. But we did try to make the couple, so Rihlat Ajiba fil Bilad al Ghariba. So it's a rhyme. We couldn't make the rhyme, but we tried to make the title more ancient French poetical like. So instead of saying the plain normal French, for example, Voyages Fantastiques, dans des contrées étranges, ou dans des pays étranges, we decided to go for a more poetic way, on d'étranges contrées, which is also, I think, an alexandrin, which is one of the meter of the French poetry, and it's got a rhythm. We try to make a rhythm, not exactly the same as in Arabic, because we cannot do that, but we try to adjust a little bit. That's why the title sounds a little bit oldish, on des tranches contrées, because the normal French will be dans des pays étranges. But
we also, between choosing, the possibilities of translating Bilad Ghariba, we decided not to keep países extraños, extranjeros, because we wanted to avoid this the negativity that can, países extraños, it's like we decided, if you say países, países extraños, you are like talking about something which is very different from very different from your place, or from your country, or from your space. So we were avoiding to keep that sense. So this is why we decided to use the other word that has like a sense more positive than the other one.
Étrange in French is not it's not negative, so we kept that idea, which is also the same root as étranger. We just did we swapped, because usually you put noun and the adjective after, but for poetic reasons you can swap them, and that's what we did. And étrange, it's actually fantasy. It means a fantasy word, and I thought that it was like something very descriptive for the étrange, the strange things she meets, but it doesn't carry the same negativity as in Spanish, I think.
Yeah, in Spanish, we kept misteriosas, tierras misteriosas. Misterioso, it means like something like mysterious, like something like interesting, new things. But if you say tierras extrañas, extrañas in that sense can be odd things or odd places. So we were avoiding that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was not easy to try to
Yeah.
choose between all the possibilities that we had there to translate a good title.
Yeah.
Regarding the problems, I think that perhaps, well, of course, I mean, we were facing different problems. I think for me, always one of the main challenges is to keep the linguistic register. I mean, this is always challenging, and also here, I mean, to keep this tone of adventure for young people, for teenagers, but it's really very challenging in my case. Also, and I think that this is something that we share, is the problems or the difficulties or the challenge of avoiding repetitions.
Oh yeah, of
Uh,
course.
this is
My editor is following the conference, and she sent me a message like, "How many repetitions do you have in that book?" And I'm like, "I
yeah,
already have that a lot." So
yeah,
I'm happy to know that in Spanish you have the same issue. But
yeah, and
that's an
to
Arabic thing. It's an Arabic thing. I mean, other novels I've been translating have exactly the same problem. I mean,
it's always there. The problem is always there. Like to get crazy trying to find the synonyms, more like that you can use anytime, and even you can get using the same synonyms all the time. So it's always challenging and very difficult when you are translating. And also, I had like some difference in the rhythm. I think I don't know how did you find that, but the rhythm is very fast or very smooth by the beginning of the novel, and it's not the case of the second part of the story. So it was like challenging also to try to keep this rhythm. I mean, the rhythm of the first part of the novel in the second part of the novel, and also something. I mean, part of the story is within or on a boat. So it was difficult to deal with technicalities in sense that, I mean, of course, I mean, in the words used in Arabic, there were like very very basic. We couldn't keep that, like we couldn't keep everything like it was, so we decided to go to use some technicalities, but it's difficult also. You have to choose very carefully, because again, you have in mind the potential reader, which is a teenager. So if you are like including a lot of technical things there, they can get worried. So we were like avoiding to use I mean, using technicalities, but choosing the right ones to avoid having problems. So getting in problems to our readers.
yeah. So in my case, we went and I told my publisher I wanted something. So in it, the thing with Arabic, it's that it can be very poetic, and I wanted to keep that as well, because you have passages very poetic. So I try to be poetic, especially in the more reflective, when she thinks about her past, her life, and everything, to be really poetic and try to do poetic sentences. And I hope my publisher will not kill me for that, because sometimes I went a little bit too far, I think. But at the same time, I wanted to maintain the same tone, and the tone was to have this potential reader is a teenager. But in France, people read a lot, so we do have like teenagers already used to read like poetic things, especially in French fantasy and French science fiction. The tradition is to have like really literary work. So we had to balance between the more poetic part of the story, and, as you said, the more action-like, because she can go fast from one to the other as well. And but we have to do that avoiding repetitions, because you cannot have the same word in the same page. For example, she says a lot. I mean, everything she said, he said, I said, and I was like, at one point, we can avoid saying And yeah, she says everything, but that's Arabic. I mean, that's the way Arabic write. And secondly, we do have a a potential reader which is also used to a certain type of literature. So the publisher is a publisher of fantasy and science fiction, French. So people that are reading are used to that kind of literature, and not the kind of literature we usually translate. So if the publisher, if I'm translating like what we call white literature, more general literature, I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have done that because I think it's betraying the author style. But for this book in particular, and for fantasy and for science fiction, we have this tradition of easy literature. So I had to rewrite some passages because otherwise I had too many repetitions, too many weird sentences, and repetition not only about words but also about sentences. So she repeats like 3 times the same thing, and sometimes I had to rewrite just because I wanted the reader to enjoy the story. So what I did is I tried to combine the French tradition of storytelling and how she does it with the Arabic. So it was trying to understand what's her style, what's the style of Arabic, and what can I do with that in French to have this smooth story, because it has to be smooth. Otherwise, potential readers will not like it, because again, it's a book for teenagers and young adults, and not for adults that are looking for weird non-European styles. They want something easy to read and that's what she does in Arabic. That's exactly what she does in Arabic, because an Arabic Palestinian reader doesn't feel it weird. So the French reader doesn't have to feel it weird. So we had to work on that, to work on the sense of feeling the book is talking to us more than respecting every single letter. That's why, for example, there are passages that that's a very typical Arabic thing. They put the effects and the cause after. But that's very European. So sometimes I had to swap. For example, I saw him because I entered their house. And usually in European style, I'm not talking about the grammar, I'm really talking about as a stylist, we say I entered and I saw him, because it's more, and that's sometimes, and that's a problem with Arabic, actually. It's not a problem with this book in particular. But as my reader is a teenager, I had to swap. I had to really swap a lot. I don't know if you do that in Spanish as well. Like
the same thing, but and always like the option or what I was doing is try to keep the text as closer as possible to the reader in Spanish.
So we have, as a translators, I love this metaphor. We have loyalty to the text, but we also have loyalty to the reader. And we're more into the text, I think, and the editor, it's more on the reader, because sometimes the editor tells me, that sentence doesn't mean anything, or we can change that. And I'm like, yes, but the text says something else. So because people don't know, but we are not alone translating. We also have editors, we have proofreaders, we have people reading the text and telling us if it works or not. I don't know if you had that as well, but usually it's at least how we do it in French. You have better readers and publisher and editors editing the book.
But I can say that this is mainly the case of huge publishing houses.
Okay.
But in this case, I mean, everything was like fixed internally in the project.
Okay. Yeah.
So I had the copy editor with me, Paloma, who was very helpful, and also Pedro, who was the person who proposed in this book. So we were like reading it and working on that internally, but we didn't have the pressure of the publishing house in that sense. I mean, the That's a lot, and we have been publishing something with them before, so they know us and they trust us. So I think that in that sense, perhaps the publishing house in Spain, they are not as used to translate Arab literature than in other places, like perhaps in UK or in France. I mean, of course, we have readers, people interested in this kind of books of this region of the world. But I think that we have a lot of things to do because I mean. For example, it's very common to have, I don't know if it's the case of your country, but it's in many times. So we have like Arab novels translated from English, not from Arabic directly.
No, it happens for other languages, but not for Arabic, because it's France and the Arabic regions are deeply tied because of the colonial history. And we have a huge diaspora of Arabic descent, and there is still a lot of links with the Arabic word, and people do speak Arabic in the street. I live in an Arabic environment, so I just go out. It's more Turkish, but it's Arabic Turkish, and it's something that's, I mean, it's pretty common. So a lot of people do speak Arabic, so it's not very common to translate Arabic into French, but I know for other languages, yes, sometimes people pass through English, even though it's getting more and more rare, because we do have a lot of financial aids in France to translate, that allows us to go to see specialists of the language, and that asks to be paid the amount of money they want and they need. I mean, it's a good thing, and the financial aids help a lot the industry in France, so that's a good thing. It is not the case, I know, in Italy, for example, where even more common, I wouldn't say common, but still common languages like Chinese or Arabic, that are pretty common in France, are translated through English. And the thing is, sometimes the English translation is also a little bit biased. So I know that, for example, the publisher doesn't read Arabic. So sometimes he tells me, I read that, in the English version. It's like, yes, but that's not the Arabic version.
Yeah. I can and for example, yes, you too. I mean, I had the pleasure of translating the first graphic novel, the first translation of a graphic novel in Spanish from Arabic.
Oh,
because
wow.
all the comics and all the graphic novels before that in the Spanish publishing house were translated from English or French. It was I don't know if it is Yogur y Mermelada. It's Zaba de Murabba. It's a novel by a Lebanese graphic novel artist, and and that was like 4 years ago or something like this. So I'm not talking about the 90s, but I'm talking about it was like 4 years ago. So this is the first novel translated, so the first graphic novel translated into Spanish directly from Arabic.
Yeah.
Just to understand how is the publishing panorama in Spain.
Yeah, in France it's a little bit different, because we do have a community of Arabic speakers, and I've never seen a book written in Arabic translated through English. I have seen other languages, yes, but not Arabic. And yes, that's the only.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes they do say, I translated a. I'm sorry for the sound. I don't know if you hear that. I have a cat, so that's the cat doing her things, and that's very awkward. But yes, I was saying. What was I saying? yes, I lost my words. And yes. Yes, no, we usually translate from the language. Yeah, some publishing houses say we have an Arabic author, but actually, especially when they do I translate, but the person is born and grew up in Philadelphia, for example.
Okay.
So, and for me at Hikaya, we have a little bit. We discuss if that person writing in English in an English environment is an English writer or an English-speaking writer or an American writer or an Arabic one, and that's. We could do like a whole panel of that on that.
Yeah.
It's not the case tonight, but yes. So that's the only case we see translated from English. Otherwise, if the book is in Arabic, it's usually translated from Arabic.
You mentioned that a lot of your audience, that some people in France obviously speak Arabic as well. On the subject of the target audience, how did the target audience impact your translation, especially in terms of the age group you were trying to target?
Well, can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
So, as I said before, French people are really used to read, especially readers are usually good readers. People, like everywhere else, people are reading less and less, but readers are strong readers, used to French literature that is taught in schools. So what I said is it's a book for children, but at the same time it has to be poetic. So I try to keep it simple, not to use weird or strange words unless necessary because of the context. And for example, I avoided to have very literary words, but at the same time I wanted to have something poetic. So yes, I try to target my public, my reader, but at the same time, I mean, it had to be, and I want it to be because it's not out yet. I want it to be like the same poetic style Sonia writes in. So yeah. It's to jostle between the two of them.
Yeah.
I you had the same problem.
Yeah, in my case, but the same. And also, I always my mind was put in the fact that I was translating for something that we were going to use within a project to combat the stereotypes. That was a really interesting component in the translation, and that was really something that I was having always in mind that fact. So this is one of the main reasons why, when I had to choose between a couple of or two translations or something like this, always the idea was like to keep the text closer, as I said before, to the Spanish young reader. So. Since the main objective was to try them to think or try them to understand that we have a lot of things in common, and that also to try to combat this way of deshumanizing the Arab region. So the idea was like to keep the text or the words, the vocabulary, everything as closer as possible to the potential reader.
Yeah. We did try to do the same thing, but at the same time, our readers are used to. I mean, we know that people that will read it will be fantasy readers. So they sometimes we kept like the Arabic word, especially the names. I think that will be one of the methods, especially because people are used to that. I mean, they read Tolkien, they read fantasy. So fantasy has a lot of weird words, and nobody cares. But we had that philosophy. If our reader is able to understand that, I don't know, there are Elvish poetry poems in The Lord of the Rings. They can read some words in Arabic as well. That's part of the deal of reading. So, but we try to at the same time go to a Frenchification of some terms, some ideas that are not very common and wouldn't be understood otherwise. Or if we had a term that means something else in French, if we kept the Arabic form.
And how did you translate the character names, Monica?
Well, in our case, always following this philosophy, which is like to keep the everything as closer as possible to the Spanish reader. In the case of the main characters, I think that they kept Sol, Luna. Also, I translated the names of the main characters, and when because we have like those names in Spain, I mean Sol and Luna, they are there, so their name used in our country, in our language, so that was okay with that. So when I was like seeing a name like it's like I don't know, Kamaruddin, or I don't know, whatever, and a name with two terms and the translation is very weird, I was keeping the Arabic name, trying to not to use an academic way of translating it, but using a way of translating it that, I mean, when you are reading the word in Spanish, you are able to pronounce in a good way that name. So of course, avoiding any academic way of translating Arabic.
Yeah. We kept it in most of the time in Arabic, although if there were not nicknames, that meant something we had to understand in the story. But we decided to go more for the Arabic one. For example, and we had a problem with that as well, because I wanted to. So there's this character that whose name is Najmat As-Sabah. But the thing is, if you use just Najma, you don't put the T. That's what we are actually editing now. If we do put the T or not when it's in the whole idafe. I don't know how to say that in English.
Annexation or something?
Annexation, yes. Construct, because you need a T in that construct. But you don't need it when it's just a name. So how do we do that for the French readers? Do we, because the French readers, of course, is not stupid, but seeing the name changing would be confusing for him. And the translation, the exact translation, Étoile, isn't a real name of a person. So it would be awkward to call this character Étoile or Soleil. Lune is a real name, so we could have kept that, but most of the names are
very strange in French, yeah.
So we couldn't do that, and that's where we said we will write a postface with a word of a translator explaining what we did and why we did it, and at the same time we tried to use this strangeness in the text because of the theme of the book. So the strangeness. I mean, it's the theme of the book, the strangeness. So yeah, it was, I think, one of the main thing we discussed with the publisher. Aside the repetitions, keeping the names or not, it was. We thought of changing them, but when I thought of it, I was like, yes, it's a little bit awkward. And again, in France, we are used to Arabic names, so it's not a huge problem. For example, we also we have some Arabic words in French. Arabic not gone through the Francification. We're really young, like in Arabic, like Mashallah, Inshallah. are things that actually young people say, and even now adults say that directly. So sometimes we just kept mashallah or inshallah in the text because people use them. And I don't know if the editor will keep them, but I did use
Yeah,
them.
it's understood. So what? Why not keeping it in Spain? That would not be possible. I mean, sometimes can. I mean, some people can understand that, but it's not as common as in your back in your country. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe I know them and I use them because I speak Arabic with a certain environment. So the editor will tell me if we keep them or not. So
He will make the decision himself.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's interesting that, Monica, you said that the comprehension of certain Arabic words, if you leave them as is very context dependent. Like some things wouldn't be understood in Spain, for example. So how did you approach the translation of words that have a very different like cultural or social context in the Arab world that a Western reader wouldn't necessarily have access to? So your French or Spanish audience.
Very good, very good. This is always something very challenging for a translator. No, I mean you can use like footnotes, but it's not the case. So I mean, I think that when you are reading a book, a novel, especially if you're a teenager, you are not going to read the footnotes because it's not nonsense. No, you are having to try. I mean, you are trying to have fun, not to something more academic, no. So when I find something that we don't have the translation in Spanish, what I try to do is perhaps to play a little bit with the words in order to include the meaning in a phrase or something without breaking the rhythm of the translation.
yeah. What I did was also, as I know that my specific reader are fantasy readers, I went to see how they do it in the young adult and fantasy books people read today. And especially I had this problem with a word, which is khan, which means the, in English, the caravanserai as well. Yeah. I don't remember which word they used in the English version. Was it?
It was fun. They left it as is, which was confusing because caravanserai, I feel like it's used more frequently in English as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, the khan is not exactly a caravanserai, but it's between a bar and a caravanserai and so I saw that the main books about, I don't know, this when the main books on Middle Easternish style use that word, and I told myself that's word I will use, even though the khan is not that exactly, but the readers are used to that. If I use khan in French means the Mongol khan, for example,
Genghis Khan.
And that would have been confusing for a French reader to read a Khan, and that's why I went for the French approximative translation, but it's the one that is used by a large amount of writers that do write the same kind of literature I'm translating. So I think that's how we did it in French, and I think there are two things that are to be said. It's caravanserai and the garments as well, the clothes, because sometimes I had so specific Indian or Arabic or Moroccan or especially clothes and tissues that were not available in French because we do not have them, for example. And for example, le sirwal. It's not, if I use sarouel in French, it's too culturally connotative in that specific how you use them today. It's not exactly the same thing. It's more of it's not a they're not pants, so I had to find way that that garments were used, that clothes were used in the Middle Age literature for the Arabic ones. That was kind of difficult. I think even more than the Khan.
We
Yeah.
we have like something good that we have in Spanish is that we have a lot of words from Arabic. I mean historical words coming from Arabic. So, for example, in the case of Serual, we have a word which is Zaraweyes. So we were able to use those kind of. It was very useful in terms of talking about clothes and all those things, because we have the same. I mean, even the word coming from Arabic, and so this is the word that we were choosing also we were talking the other day about fonda, which is like the Spanish word for, not for funduk, but not for hotel, but to refer to a kind of caravanserai, of this kind of old hotels that were also hotels for the beasts and the horses and all those things. So that it was very useful, honestly, and it's always very useful.
Yeah. And what I like is also when she goes, so the other countries that do not speak Arabic, and she uses the terms of the country. So, for example, she goes to India, and you have all the Indian clothes as well. So you have to find a way, because she uses Arabic words to describe Indian clothes, but at the same time, not the same words she uses in the Arabic word when she goes out. And that's very funny, because we always, as we are translating that from Arabic into French, we are all already doing the extrapolation of the Arabic culture into French. But at the same time, we have to think how a Palestinian in French would call an Indian clothes. That's really an interesting topic, and it's really fun, especially the sari, because fortunately in French we have sari, so I could use the word sari. But for example, for male characters, there are how you say turban, how you say a jacket, and is it like a jacket or something else? Do I have to use the Indian word, or because she uses like not the Arabic word for that, or do I have to use the French one? But because if our reader is the character, because the person in person's lives, the reader is in the head of the character. The character in French speaks French, so we have this feeling. We have. So that's very interesting, and I don't think there's one solution. It depends on the context.
Absolutely.
And
also on the publishing house and on many things. I mean,
yeah. Fortunately, and I think LDT, they are awesome, and we can talk about those things, and they do understand everything I'm saying, because sometimes it's really difficult to try to, when we are so into these kind of things, and we know it's detail for us. It's not a detail for us, but it can be a detail for the publisher. It's really hard sometimes to have publishers that are listening to these cultural differences, but LDT are great. And that's why I am really happy to work with them.
Amazing. So my last question is about strangeness in translation. Kind of linked to what we were talking about before. So strangeness is a huge theme in the story, because among other things, Qamar's family is shunned by her village for most of her childhood, and she later spends the rest of her life like traveling, like as a stranger in a strange land. And lots of strange and improbable things happen throughout the story. So did this strange context like make it any easier or harder to translate the story into a foreign language, like without making it more exotic or strange than it is in the original text, compared to, for example, a more realistic story?
Also, that was challenging. I mean, to keep the balance between trying to be or respect this strangeness, which is in the plot or in the action in the whole novel, but at the same time to try to avoid an exotic test in Spanish. So it was very very challenging. I tried to keep more this strangeness in the content of the story more than in the language that I was choosing, or how I was playing with language, because as I have been saying during this conversation, I was to be always. My main objective was to avoid my main obsession was to keep the translation as close to the Spanish reader as possible. So I kept the strangeness in the content of the story, and avoiding it in the formal translation, or in the formal part of the test. Yeah.
One of the main thing that was actually we are following the story in the point of view of Kamer. So my idea was to see if I was Kamer, if I were Kamer, what would I think and how would I think? That's because we are talking at the first person. So what she feels normal, I want it to be normal. And what she sees it as weird, I will make it weird as well, because we have to feel the strangeness she feels. That's what I was saying before, and I think it's the main. At the same time, the thing that the book was at the first person was a tool for me to use. I mean, how would I react? How would I think that situation myself, knowing what she's gone through? And what is weird, and the weirdness, I tried not to use it in the language, not with terms. I mean, if she knows the term in Arabic, it has to be in French, because the head of the character is Arabic, but in the translation it's French, so the reader is French. But when for example, she's in India and she sees a Maharaja, I couldn't say a king. I had to use the Indian word for that, because in her head she's talking to someone weird, to someone which is not from her culture, from a strange, and I wanted to make the reader see the strangeness in that, but to make everything that is Arabic rooted in her culture, what she feels normal, because it's part of her culture, where you don't have this cultural shock, to be as close as possible as the French tradition, as I said before, so less exotic, because I think the strangeness of the Arabic reader in Arabic is when she feels something weird, and not when she feels something that is close to her. And I try to really do that in French as well, to make weird what she sees weird, and make normal what she sees and feels normal. And it's not an easy task, because sometimes I was wondering, is it like that weird, that thing? I mean, because when she's in some situations she finds it weird and I don't, and personally, so I had a little bit difficulties sometimes to understand if she felt it weird, and sometimes there are like magical things and she finds it normal, and I'm like, okay, but that's the way Sonia writes it, and I try to keep that as well. And I know that it might seem a little bit weird sometimes, but that's how the book is in the end. So yes, it's a good. You have to balance the two, the weirdness and the domestic sentiment, the domestic feeling, and I think that's the whole strength of this book, and that's actually in the title for me. Strange.
Do you have anything to add, Monica?
No, nothing to add.
So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to check if there are any questions in the chat as well.
Do we have any question? So yes, we do have something. Is my editor telling me that her way to tell stories is great, but it's a little bit hard to work as a book publisher. I know. so yes,
Sure.
and but it's a great project. So it's great. Sorry. We do have. Okay. Seems like we do not have a lot of questions. I don't know if other people have questions. I don't know if you have one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there anything?
You have one.
Is there anything you'd like to add about the campaign that launched today on Ulule?
Yes, that's a good thing. So for people watching from France, we are launching today the campaign, the crowdfunding campaign of Voyages Fantastiques en étranges contrées on Ulule. You can go and fetch the link on Labyrinthe de Théia, and we will post a story and a post on our Facebook as well. It's a project of Labyrinthe de Théia. As Hikaya, we were helping them, of course, translating the book, but also technically, because at Hikaya, what we want to build is really a network of publishing houses in the whole world, helping each other, passing names, translations, and also information on how we can get finances or just helping each others. I mean, it's the most important thing. And that's what we did with Labyrinthe de Théia. So the publisher that I want to thank, Tatiana Ramazzotti. We met at a festival 4 years ago, and I pitched her this book, and she told me it's amazing, I want to do it, and we built together this project. And before Hikaya even existed as a concept, by the way, so it's a very old project, and I'm really thankful to her. And during this preparation, the war started, the genocide happened, and we told ourselves it's a very good way to try to do something. And that's why we launched also a partnership with Médecins du Monde and maybe other associations and NGOs to donate to the Palestinian cause, which is always a good thing in the context of today, and not only today. And of course, so there is a part to Médecins du Monde, and of course, the author as well is Palestinian. So you're also helping a Palestinian author thriving and continuing her work, because that's not the only work she wrote. That's her best novel, but we have others helping her to continue her career as a scholar as well in Palestinian oral storytelling traditions. And that's it. I mean, I think the project is super cool, and I'm really thankful to Labyrinthe de Théia to having promoted that. And if you want to do some advertising for the French, for the Spanish version as well, Monica.
No, just only. I mean, I think that you have already. There are no the link to the Spanish version of the. I think that Asmae put it in the chat. So you can, whenever, if someone is interested in getting the Spanish version, they can buy there the translation of the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you. thank you for everybody having listened to us talking about this wonderful book, and I'm sure you will appreciate it when you will read it and see why it's important to have it in all the languages of the world. So if you're a German translator, if you are I don't know, a Swedish translator or a Indian translator, just go and try to make it published in your language. That's the thing I want to say, everyone.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks for sharing this project with us. And yeah, it was really interesting. I'm looking forward to reading the French version. My Spanish isn't there yet, so I'll have to wait a little bit, but yeah.
Great.
So thank you very much for your time, and thanks to everyone for watching.
Yes, and I think we are going off in, sorry, just to check. We're off.